In the heart of West Africa, where the golden sun kisses the land and mighty warriors once walked, stood the Ashanti Empire, rich in culture, powerful in battle, and feared by those who dared challenge its rule. But hidden deep within the empire's palace, buried beyond the reach of any outsider, was a secret treasure, whispered about only in hushed voices. A fortune so great, it was said to be a gift from the gods themselves. Yet, this treasure was not meant for greedy hands, because whoever took from it would never know peace again. One evening, beneath the glow of the sacred fire, an old elder sat before a group of young warriors. His eyes were deep with the knowledge of the past. "The golden stool is our soul," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But there is another treasure, hidden away, guarded by the spirits of our ancestors. Those who seek it in greed will never return." The warriors listened, their faces serious. But in the shadows, someone else was listening too, someone whose heart was already poisoned by the thought of riches. That night, as the palace slept, General Kwabena stepped out of the shadows. A man once devoted to his people, but now ambition burned in his heart. He had heard the elder's story, and he believed the treasure was real. And if it was real, he would have it. Under the cover of darkness, Kwabena met with a British officer, an outsider who had long sought to break the Ashanti Empire. "The treasure exists," Kwabena whispered. "I know where it is, but I need your men. Half of the gold will be yours." The British officer smiled. "And the Ashanti throne?" Kwabena's eyes gleamed with greed. "It will be mine." And so, on a night of fire and betrayal, the unthinkable happened. British soldiers, guided by Kwabena's own men, stormed the Ashanti palace. The once proud walls were set ablaze. Warriors fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. And at the heart of it all, Kwabena stood watching, as his king was captured, as his people fell. The Ashanti Empire was crumbling before his eyes. But even in his victory, one thing remained: the gold. It was still hidden, waiting for him. With the battle won, Kwabena led the British officer deep beneath the palace, through tunnels long forgotten. And then they saw it. A golden chest, untouched by time, sat in the center of the chamber. The air was thick with something unseen, something watching. The British officer stepped forward, eyes wide. "Incredible!" Kwabena reached out, his fingers grazing the chest, and in that moment, the room changed. The air turned ice-cold. The torches flickered violently. Then, a whisper, low at first, barely audible, then growing, many voices, speaking in unison. "Kwabena! Kwabena!" The sound wrapped around him like 1,000 unseen hands. He turned to the British officer, but the man was frozen in fear. And then, a shadow moved. A hand, pale as death, reached out from the darkness. Before the British officer could scream, the hand grabbed him and pulled him into the shadows. And then, silence. Kwabena ran. He ran through the tunnels, through the burning palace, through the wreckage of what he had destroyed. But the voices followed him. They never stopped whispering his name. Years passed. His hair turned grey. His body grew weak. Yet he could never escape the whispers. The gold had never belonged to him, and so it cursed him. Alone and broken, he wandered the ruins of the palace, a man without a home, without a kingdom, without peace. Some say he still roams the land, a shadow of the past, warning those who dare seek the treasure, because no one ever truly escapes the curse. Today, the ruins of the Ashanti kingdom still stand, and deep in those ruins, a young historian kneels, brushing dust from an ancient map. He looks around, eyes filled with curiosity. The golden stool's shadow. Was it ever real? He whispers. The wind howls through the ruins, carrying the faintest sound of a whisper. Centuries have passed, but some say the curse still lingers. Travelers whisper of eerie whispers in the wind, and those who seek the lost gold often vanish without a trace. Perhaps the treasure was never meant to be found. Or perhaps it still waits in the shadows, watching, choosing its next victim, or perhaps some secrets are meant to stay buried, too.